The Netherlands, a real-life version of The Sims in transportation if there ever was one. Wide bicycle paths, protected infrastructure, calm streets to cycle down. And what's this? A bike lane? Surely not. That would be quite out of character for a cycling nation such as the Netherlands. What is it? This, dear viewers, is what the Dutch call a Suggestiestrook. In order to understand the Suggestiestrook, we first need to learn a little bit about how the Dutch traffic system is organized. The Erftoegangsweg, or the ETW, which roughly translates into access street, is the most common travel surface type in the Netherlands. ETWs come in two forms, urban and rural. The design of urban and rural ETWs differ dramatically, and are therefore governed by separate engineering manuals, the ASVV and the HWO respectively. Because the application of Suggestiestrooks are most applicable in urban environments, we'll be focusing on urban ETWs and the ASVV in this video. The urban ETW's mission is to provide safe access to a city for multiple modes of transportation, meaning it's a very complex environment. Therefore, to keep it safe, the design speed is capped at 30 kilometers an hour, so traffic is predictable and nobody gets hurt. This means we can expect several things from good ETW design. Narrow street widths to slow down cars, non-asphalt materials such as paving bricks, and no traffic markings that would suggest that the travel surface is only meant for cars. But in some parts of the Dutch city, these ideal conditions aren't always possible. In former and current industrial areas, the use of industrial heavy vehicles sometimes meant the use of asphalt, wider streets, and wider curves, making the design to encourage 30 km/h speeds more difficult. These realities are not lost on Dutch street designers, and the ASVV includes a series of steps and measures they can take to make a suboptimal street function more like a proper ETW. These measures can include, but are not limited to, splitter islands, speed humps, and the long-awaited Suggestiestrook. Or if we were to translate it properly to English, edge striping. For streets that are too wide to have cars reliably go 30 kilometers an hour, Suggestiestrooks or edge striping is meant to visually narrow the street just enough so cars will be encouraged to go the proper speed of 30 kilometers per hour. The width of a Suggestiestrook will vary. As the paved surface gets wider, the Suggestiestrook is also expected to be wider. However, the issue here is that as the Suggestiestrook starts getting wider and wider, it's all too easy to mistake these for proper bike lanes, which is a major problem, since official bike lanes on Dutch ETWs inside of the built-up area are illegal. Now, this might catch some of you who are cycling advocates off guard, but the reasoning behind this is quite sound. ETWs are meant to be low-intensity car areas with slow speeds, so mixed traffic is very, very safe. If a bicycle lane is necessary, something is going very, very wrong with the ETW and something needs to be fixed. This is why you'll almost never see a bicycle symbol inside of a Suggestiestrook in an urban area. The only real exception to this is when they will put in a contraflow lane when you have a significant amount of contraflow bicycle traffic, as you can see here in this example in Den Bosch. But sometimes when things go wrong and the intensity and speed of car traffic starts making bike lanes feel like a necessity on the ETW, rather than adjusting the ETW design like they're supposed to, it doesn't really stop some municipalities from making the Suggestiestrooks look and function like bike lanes in all but name. And some Dutch cities will even completely ignore their own rules and put down bicycle symbols anyway. I'm looking at you, Haarlem. These almost bicycle lanes are a real challenge for Dutch designers, and it's one reason why in the ASVV, the recommended width for Suggestiestrooks is only listed as variable. At the present moment, it's undecided at what width the Suggestiestrook stops being a means to slow down cars and starts being viewed more like an actual bike lane and encourages cars just to go faster and take over the entire space for themselves. In the latter scenario, the ETW would start behaving like what we would call a GOW 50, a higher speed Dutch road where cars are allowed to go 50 kilometers an hour and cyclists have an entirely separated bike lane. But it's much safer because cars are never allowed to enter the bike lane and cyclists enjoy a much greater space in the bike lane itself. This is much safer than the almost bicycle lane setup on some ETWs where cars are almost going 50 kilometers an hour already and are intruding into the fake bicycle lane much more often than they would on an official GOW setup. But this all goes to show that even in a nation as great for cycling as the Netherlands is, challenges remain and they're still working out some of the design kinks. In any case, it's going to be very interesting to see what they come up with.